Vibes. So, just want to speak on this topic real quick. That's basically resetting our angles with masculine and feminine. Meaning, our life is basically split up. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, there's this people and there's that people. There's two types of people in the world. Not like that, but kind of like that. But just for this talking, hold on, it's loud right now. For this topic, there's like really just steady traffic. I can't cross the street. Masculine, feminine, two ways that we interface with the world. And for most of us, for everybody, yeah. Your first relationships with masculinity and femininity basically imprint your experience that you're about to have for your life or whatever, but it essentially crystallizes your lens. And it becomes the way that you interface with masculinity and femininity out in the world. So, just sharing part of my journey. I started to realize that I'm essentially projecting my relationship with my father out onto other people, onto other masculine reference points, and then my father's relationship to femininity is kind of woven there as well. But then my mother's relationship with femininity, it's in there. My mother's relationship with masculinity, that's in there. So I found myself having this aversion to like a quick-paced, and there's a lot in here, so I'm not just referencing to it in a general concept, but rather like the real specific aspect that I'm referencing here is having an aversion to something because it's something that my father did or something that my mother did that ultimately at this point in the journey I've recognized is like, oh, that's a trait I inherited, or a personality or a characteristic that I inherited, and now I'm in the phase of my transmutation of it where I'm like, do I want to keep that? But maybe I'm not even to that level of it yet. Maybe I'm just like, oh shit, my mom does this, or my dad does this, or whatever. But it's basically just a recognition that it's a reflection or a replication of something from, basically one of your parents. But again, either really it's just about masculine and feminine reference points for our basically what our grid is built on. And it's those two masculine and feminine reference points. I found just in this past couple chapters, like one chapter was, I didn't even realize that I had all these tendencies and characteristics that I basically said was me. Like I'm identifying it as my personality, it's not just something I happen to do one day. Like, this is how I am. Rocco's this way. Friends say it. Family says it. Maybe you say it to yourself internally, or write it down, or put it on your MySpace or whatever it is. You're basically concretizing, I don't know if that's a word, but you're basically like solidifying that version of yourself, that aspect of your identity. You're imprinting it on yourself out in your social index, which again then projects it back to you. So it's basically you're deciding your mirror based on many things, but for this specific, what we're talking about here, the masculine and feminine dual split that all of our experiences are felt through and processed through, digested through, whatever you want to say it. But basically we are interfacing with life through masculinity and femininity. We get our relationship to masculine and feminine from mother, father. a long process of transmuting lower vibrational aspects of self to higher vibrational aspects of self, recognizing maybe undesirable traits in potential loved ones, potential friends, social relationships, connections, anybody who's reflecting you back to you in a way that has ultimately helped you see yourself. It's there's a spectrum of masculine and feminine, and it's not really as black and white as testosterone, and I guess the counter to that would be estrogen. I'm not sure if that really applies, but yeah, I just mean that it's not like you get all masculine from dad and get all feminine from mom, obviously. But just to touch on it, it's like I may try to avoid who I really am because I currently perceive that. Maybe it's a habit, maybe it's an activity, maybe it's a mental posture, maybe it's an emotional posture, maybe it's just a kind of overall posture in life, or a stillness, or a steadiness, or a movement, or a friction, or a fluidity, whatever it is. I've now felt it in my field, in my experience, and I have some sense, or I can at least feel into and identify if it's from masculine, feminine, from mother, father, or from, and then I think this is the process to like identifying what is really you, like amongst all of these things that, you know, through the course of our lives, people end up saying like, oh, you know, it's really, we just keep shedding things that we aren't anymore. Really, I guess that's life. So yeah, in your work of transmutation, for all the alchemists out there, for all the light children out there, for all the crystals, for all the indigos, for all the, I mean, really just tired of using Colgate. That's really it in the transmutation work. I guess that's it. Which is kind of why I got this tattoo. It's basically, wait, why is that? Oh, this way. I'm gonna come from over here. But I can't see it because it's the front camera. I think you can see it now. Yeah, it's Ditto facing Pikachu. And it's basically just like, yo, it's just a reflection of yourself. But in recognizing that, it's like, what are you now gonna choose to reflect back? So it's not you're the light, it's not that you're the image that's getting reflected back, but you're actually the mirror itself. And you possess the ability to modulate and manipulate what you reflect back. That's the power of the human experience, choice. You can believe that faith, and I mean having faith, I think, in like, you know, tools like A Course in Miracles, I think helps you disengage from the mechanisms that are actually set up by ego, installed to make you fail, to make you, basically continue to invest in separation.